See, he believes in himself. Why didn't you guys do this?
Lot of movement.
Not a movement. But you should say, ah, let's put a stroke, no? Alright. Here's a Roman numeral 9. With one stroke of the pen, make it 6.
Mirror.
Now we'll have to, while this is getting just need this. Yeah.
No.
With one stroke of the pen. What's the second right answer?
Just write 6, number 6.
Come. How is that 6? That's 6, 1x.
SIX.
This is 6. But he's not bad. Let me just say, all you need to do is 1 into 6 also 6?
Yes.
Gotcha. See? Now it's becoming interesting. But there's a third right answer. Whatever it is. You have to give me the third right answer, and just to help you people, this was shown to me by an 8-year-old girl. Yeah, that's already been done. Okay, now you have to help me with projecting this. Set this. So on that? Okay, so just we need people to... No, it's okay. Alright, in the hour or so, what I'm going to do is demonstrate. Now, what I'd like you to do is, since there are a lot of people standing over there, I'm not going to need this space. By that, the reason it's not easy is because of our education. And I've already proved that in the exercise we did just now. Because I said Roman numeral 6 and somebody solved it with the Roman numeral. Then when I give Roman numeral 9, all of you are thinking, Master Moshe has said Roman numeral, therefore it must be a Roman numeral, and you were all trying to find a Roman numeral. Is that correct? Yeah? Correct?
Yes.
Your minds had got addled with education. Then came a worse thing called higher education. Somebody came up with SIX. How can there be another answer? Because were you ever given marks for a second right answer in college? Oh, see how education has completely fixed you. Because now you were born creative and education made you, no, there must be some logic. There must be some kind of formula to this. So then an 8-year-old girl showed me another solution. Still one stroke of the pen? And the reason she was able to do this is because she'd not had enough education. When we get into building brands, we make a simple thing complicated because of our education. It's actually common sense. But we like to complicate it with words like positioning, brand equity. Okay? We would like to complicate things. Because the complication, see, if I've got an idea, I must have a 6.
No spaces.
That's nice. This is good. This is the tweaking that it can make. And that is a process called co-creation. So what I do is, sometime back, I created a brand thinking process called Wings for Profit for Seagull. Okay? Seagull was an advertising agency. The reason that it's now become a brand launch center was because of Wings for Profit. Because of thinking through that, why should we be an advertising agency when there is many more ways to help entrepreneurs become strong brands? I'm going to share with you, since it's only an hour, the The Seagull Wings for Profit workshop takes 3 days, often spent over 3 months. How many of you been part of the Seagull brand launch? Anybody here? No, they would have gone on to other areas. And you've already seen the success stories that have happened. The case studies, as Puneet says, of things that are working. I'm going to share with you the 3 most important questions. But I am going to complicate it a bit, only to simplify it. The first question that you need to answer is, what's the obvious emotional truth your brand is based on? And in a moment I'm going to explain why it sounds a little complicated. But without this, your brand really doesn't succeed too well. What's the obvious emotional truth your brand is based on? The jargon word for this is key consumer insight. But unfortunately, the word insight has been so abused, so mutilated, that when in doubt, you say insight again. Okay? So, I do have to explain it in English. What's the obvious emotional truth your brand is based on? Because once you know that, the first what that Puneet talks about is very easy to answer. What business are you really in? Okay. Puneet gave an opportunity for some of the people to say what business they were in. Sir, what business are you really in?
I'm into developing careers.
Okay, great. What business are you in, sir? But what business do you want to be in? Construction business. Okay, what about you? What business are you really in?
I work in a with a hospital.
Uh,
Basically, I'm the branding and marketing for a hospital.
so what business are you really in?
Treating people.
All right. So these are one aspect of what Puneet called what. Do you people recognize this brand? Yeah. What business is this brand really in? Serving coffee? Serving? And everybody agrees they serve coffee? Wrong.
Experiencing.
That is not the business they're in. You can get coffee for 5 rupees. But when they serve coffee, they charge 150 bucks. Why do people pay for it? Sorry? Experience? What about that experience allows them to be different from cafe coffee? Same coffee.
Free Wi-Fi.
Free Wi-Fi is pretty easy for cafe coffee to also do. Yeah.
But Starbucks feel little posh, like
Lifestyle.
lifestyle.
So is the morning coffee is the notion that they got attached to it.
Here's the real truth. It's a third space you can call your own. So it's based on this so that you can be. By the way, the best use of Starbucks in India is in the Bombay airport. I go over there, 1,000 entrepreneurs are selling their ideas to other VCs. Where do they meet? At Starbucks. Because they don't have an office yet. And Starbucks will not say a word. They'll happily let them continue for the entire day. And they won't mind. They won't throw them out. Because they know that they're in the business of providing people who don't, or either don't have, or they don't have an office at that city. They don't have a home at that city. Starbucks is their place. And you feel at home. Okay. True? Once you know this, now you know the what is very different from selling coffee. And you've created value. Therefore, you can charge 150 bucks for a coffee. Because that's a very cheap office room. 150 bucks with Wi-Fi. And very good Wi-Fi. Okay. What business is this brand really in? FC UK. Can you guys see that? It's a t-shirt with FC UK written on it. What business is it in? Clothing?
Make people stylish.
Sorry?
Stylish. Make people stylish.
Make people stylish.
Funky.
Sorry?
Funky.
Funky. Alright. I'm going to, since there's not much time, I'm going to quickly give the answer. It's helping people be rebellious without breaking the law. See, Mom, it's FC UK, not what you think it is. FC UK, I'm going off to party. And the kid is so happy. Mamko FCU. And that's why everybody was absolutely happy because they want to be rebellious without breaking the law. I want to still come back to the law. I don't want to be thrown out. Yeah? Understood? When you find this emotional truth about your brand, your what becomes very simple. I am not another clothing brand. I am in the business of helping people break the law without breaking the law. And that resonates with a lot of young people. What business is this brand in? Fun? Entertainment?
Storytelling.
Who pays for this brand?
Children or
Children pay for it. Parents pay. So what's the value to the parent?
They keep the children engaged.
They keep the children engaged. Not true. Helping adults bond with because the current generation were Disney kids long ago. Okay? Your parents probably walked with Disney shoes and different boxes, or you did. You went to school with Mickey Mouse, etc. on the tiffin box. But it was your parents reliving their childhood through you. And that's the bond that happens. Okay? That's because of this obvious emotional truth. There is a child in every adult. Is this true?
Dr. Richard Harris.
So this is the trick to finding the what, and is the first part of the wings of being super profit. What's the emotional of the brand? So obvious emotional truths that build brands. Let's give you a sampling of it. Until you found it for your business, yours is not a brand. You actually haven't answered Puneet's first question. What? Okay. When you answer this first question, what? The so what obviously gets done. Because people on the move need a place beyond their home and office that they can call their own. So what? I can do my entire business out there. Wow. Okay, I don't need to set up an office. I can now have, literally tell my clients, I have 20,000 branches across the world. Wherever there's a Starbucks, I have a branch office. Okay. In fact, I sometimes tell my client, you pay for the travel, I'll pay for the coffee, if you want to see it. Otherwise, meet me online. It's much cheaper. on how it goes. But there is a technique that we have created for Seagull, where they can absolutely surely get you not just 3 right answers, they give you 10 right answers for it. Then check with the consumer which is the strongest one. So it is a conversation, like Puneet said, with the consumer, and the consumer tells us where the resonance is. Okay, it will tell you as well as Seagull, and therefore the plan of that you will work together in the brand launch center. You'll be a team. You'll be sharing this process rather than coming in as a client, etc. So the whole approach to brand launch centers, we'll find these answers together. Okay? So there is a process by which you generate several right answers for your product category. Then check with the consumer, and the consumer tells you which is the strongest one. There is a child in every adult. Is it true every adult feels nostalgic about their childhood?
Yes.
Which brand has used it successfully? It's a brand which became famous in the last 4 or 5 years in India. Every adult feels nostalgic about their childhood. Paperboard. So who else was in the food business? Who else was doing? Do you have an emotional truth as strong as this?
I could say so.
Yeah, so what would that be?
As I said, it's alternative medicine.
That's rational. Paperboard is not saying I'm selling guava juice. Paperboard is saying I'm selling nostalgia. Okay. Can you see the emotional value? Okay. So what we would do is that we would take his concept, golden food, and find the emotions related to it, generate 10 right answers, and then check with the consumer which is the strongest. Yeah, you want to ask something?
My brand name is Mum Mum.
Yeah.
Which is the first word which a baby tells, Mum Mum.
By the way, it's coming up in my presentation. Bangladesh has already used this. There's a brand called Mum, and it's Bangladesh's strongest mineral water brand. Okay. So you might have to reinvent the wheel.
That's okay.
But you're right. But just go back. That's your name. But what business were you really in?
The baby foods, the food which the new people will eat.
So you were in the business of safety. Mum in Bangladesh has been in the business of pride of Bangladesh. I'll come to that in a minute. What about this? People find searching frustrating. Is this true? People find searching frustrating? Which brand owns this? That's it. Nobody else can take it now. People find searching frustrating. Nobody else can take it. They no longer have to patent their ideas. Because anything that is to do with making searching less frustrating, people first think of Google. Or unless you create it and you intend to sell to Google, then it's fine. Okay? Because they will take it. Okay? Or if you don't, Google will easily outdo you and take it away from you. When you have a brand like that, you no longer need patents. Because you own that emotional space. Whoever does anything, like this gentleman, he thought of it himself, but somebody else has already occupied it. It's like when he now goes onto online, we have to look for a name which is, his problem would be somebody has already taken that idea, the emotional idea away from him. However, there are at least 3 right answers. Alright. Indian youth do not have the space to hang out with their friends in their homes. Is this true? Yeah. Which brand owns this? Can you see the difference between CCD and Starbucks now? Now here's something very interesting. CCD has sold the brand, but they haven't told them the secret. The poor chaps who bought CCD in massive amounts think they're in the business of conversations. If they'd stayed over here, they'd have been making many more millions. So this is the equivalent of Coca-Cola's secret recipe. And that's what Wings for Profit gives you. The seating was in sofas. Now the seating is like barista. You have conversations across the table. The whole aspect of I can hang out with friends is gone in the brand design. It's still doing well because the people who were loyal to CCD are still going there. They think they're in the coffee business, which is why they're opening up retail outlets at airports and railway. Where do people have coffee? Actually, the brand was about hanging out with your friends. It should have been at college places. Okay? Because that's where it would have really have grown. So they forgot the business that they're really in. And soon it will die out. Other brands will take it away. Conversations are not bad, but it's not as strong.
No. For
Per day?
each packet.
Yeah, so how often do they use it?
Daily.
Daily. So in a month, how much?
Uh,
30 rupees or is it 150 rupees?
60 rupees, 50 to 60 rupees.
So they buy 6 of them.
Yes.
Okay. How long do you think they will be your consumer? Till the baby is? Is that right?
Grown up. But we have some product which can be after 6 or for younger people, for college going people.
Okay, just take it from age 0 to age 6.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 years you can afford to sell. If he's a loyal customer, it'll be $60 a month. Yeah. So how much is that? 60 into 12 into 6. How much is that?
3,000 something.
3,000 something. So even if you were just doing it in one, it's 3,000 something.
Correct.
What's the lifetime value of a prosumer? The same mother who likes it and now recommends it to how many friends and relatives can she recommend it?
10, 20, 30.
The actual answer is, for that customer, how many families are invited to the girl's wedding? Because all those people she can actually influence.
Correct.
Okay. So let's take 30. Okay, in her lifetime. So it was $3,000
Yes.
into 30. That's the lifetime value of the customer, of the presumer. So how much is that? My math is very bad. How much is it? 9 lakhs. No, 90,000. Okay. $90,000. Now you should think, what is your allowable cost to acquire and retain that presumer? $90,000. Don't think of it as a $10. The relationship is $90,000. Now you invest in making that person a genuine presumer. Understood the concept? The third question is, does your brand have an idea that the presumer will champion? So currently, do you know whether there's referrals happening?
Yes.
Okay. What do they say when they refer?
अच्छा है, खाओ, try करो, ऐसे.
Weak. Weak. Whereas if you empower them with something that they will tell, if you empower them with the equivalent of daag अच्छा है, they will happily pass it on without you having to do a television commercial. So you do need a concept which people will champion. I know I'm using what happens with MNCs, but the same thing is also true. You have to have a visual metaphor which will pass on. Like, I run something called Rural Brands. You have to get the pronunciation correctly. Rural Brands. Try it out. Rural. The unit part is tongue in cheek. The brands part is very clear. Because Rural Brands is the world's smallest learn by earning university. What happens is that my clients pay after they're successful. So how do I know that Seagull is successful? Because they paid me the full success fees. They pay 50% upfront and the balance. Okay. How do I know that Seagull is a presumer? Because they invited me to talk to you. Okay. More importantly is the idea. It is learned by doing. So what I do is I run it as very simple to answer questions online, which you can help find the answers. And once you've written the brand building motorcycle to that destination, I certify you as you're able to. I was hearing a panel discussion, and because there were VCs and other investors, etc., the question was, crowdfunding, is that possible? The answer is, it's always possible if you co-create the brand. Because what business collateral really is? Sorry?
Lifestyle.
Lifestyle, every brand is in lifestyle. What business is, what is their obvious emotion?
Snobbish.
Sorry?
Snobbish feel.
Sorry?
The snobbish appeal.
User interface. User interface.
People like technology that makes them look cool. Yeah, it is. That's right. And I have to constantly have technology that will make me look cool. So it needs to be designed into the product. This is a Bangladesh company, mineral water. I've been helping that advertising agency. They sold this idea for $1 lakh of taka. I said, you idiots. Because you completely built the brand by just the packaging design. Because the thought intuitively of the graphic designer was, every Bangladeshi child says, mum, 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 when they want water. Or they want, okay? So just by putting this, every Bangladeshi mother knows the water is safe. Then they packaged it so you can show off. And ever since 1990, their advertising happened because all Bangladeshi ministers had to have a press conference shot. All newspapers had to have that, and they would proudly put mum. They are not Aquafina. That's American. Not Kingies. That's not Bangladeshi. They were proud to put it. So the mum thought, but they injected pride of the country into this bit. Safe is rational or safe is emotional? Is it? All packaged water is safe, isn't it? So you don't have a differentiator anymore. But making the connect with the Bangladeshi mum, brilliant. From then on, they actually sell it right in Bangladesh. The company also used to make RC Cola, etc. Their cola lines has gone down. They can't close this down because the customer won't. By the way, you might still be able to get away with mum. This is in Bangladesh and it's on the same. So is this advertising or a packaging idea?
Advertising.
Sorry? It's advertising, but it's an advertisement that you don't have to pay for. You've done it in the packaging and that's it. Okay? Every time that anybody uses it, it's an ad. 99 cents only. If I'm a customer and I'm happy with that experience, what will I do to my friends and relatives? What will I say? अच्छा है, or we'll say 99 cents. Sasta nahi hai, only 99 cents. Sasta is it's actually not a cheap product. All the things are very expensive if you work out, but it's less than $1. What's the harm? It's that instinct. Actually, the prices are higher because the packaging sizes are done in a manner that you can do everything in $1. But the word of mouth is very, very high. So there are dollar stores, or you go and say 99 cents. In India also it used to be known as Bata pricing. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. You're saying the word, the brand with it. So they owned the idea, and they still own the idea. 30 minutes delivery. Who owns the idea? In the website. But I have promised 30 minutes. Come high or high, what I will deliver. Now they're using drones to be able to deliver it in 30 minutes because that's the promise that they made. But what happens is it structures your placement policy, where how you're going to structure your business. So you can't first work out the piece of marketing and then say I will make a brand. You have to first work out the brand and then do the product. What most entrepreneurs make the mistake of, they've already got a product in mind when they haven't thought through the brand. And then they find it very difficult to give up on their product because that's my first baby.
Emotional attachment.
Okay, they find it very difficult. So our solution is we give them 3 babies. Okay? 3 right answers, now choose which one you want to choose. Across the world in Apple stores, especially in malls and shopping centers, you can leave your children at the Apple store. You notice that in Apple stores nobody does any selling. You're just allowed to browse around. You can stay the entire day, do all your email, but nobody will bother you. Okay? What they do is that you can also leave their kids there and nobody will touch them. I mean, they'll be perfectly safe and parents do their shopping and come back. So is that a good idea or is it a terrible idea? Is it a waste of retail space?
Very good.
Because those kids will never touch a PC when they grow up. So that's part of purchase experience. So what Seagull helps people do is also think through your purchase experience because that's what creates word of mouth as much as anything else. Those of you who can't see, that's a Harley Davidson jacket. Is that 21st century advertising?
Yes.
If a guy wears a Harley Davidson jacket,
image.
yeah? And who's paying for that ad? The consumer. Now, we don't think like that. Advertising has to be spent. What we do is we give away free t-shirts. If it's a really strong brand, they'll pay for it. If they want to be your tribe members. How you know you've got a strong brand is people will pay for it. Zuzu's, people started paying for the t-shirts. Now you know it's a strong brand. So, or a promotion that generates his own revenue. Very many many entrepreneurs believe that I need advertising to burn because I have to burn cash. There is this culture of, unless I'm burning cash, I'm not really an entrepreneur. No? I have to have cash to burn. Why? Because it's the done thing to burn cash. Okay. No? I have got this money, the VC has given us so much money, now let me spend it. The really savvy entrepreneur creates ideas that generates his own revenue. Okay. While promoting. I'm not saying you should not advertise, but only if you have a strong organizing idea, then and you've tested it, proved it, the first consumers have backed it. If you know it's spreading, help it spread, by all means. Will consumers pay to be part of your branding idea? Do you think that's happened? Say your branding idea. Do you think consumers will pay for it? No?
Yes.
They will.
Yeah.
If you're clear about what you're really selling, if you're clear about the number of prosumers you need, and you're making the experience for the consumer so good that they want to talk about it, because here's proof. Who's paying for this? Hmm? What's their infrastructure to implement this? The community that believes in Harley Davidson is doing it. The tribe is doing it. That's it. If your brand is not a cult, it's not a brand. CCD was a cult. Starbucks is a cult. They are very close to religions. Okay? That's because intuitively they worked it out. What we are saying is every brand can be made into a tribe. Every brand. Otherwise it's not a brand, it's a product with a name tag. Our definition of brand is that unless it begets more tribe members, it's not a brand. The tribe members who love it will convert others into your brand. Your parents have also paid to grow the Disney brand. And you're probably paying for it if you like Snow White in the Seven Dwarfs and handed more merchandising mascots. Or Mowgli, Jungle Book, and they got more. Then to self-finance promote those, they gave you the Disneyland experience. All of them became products and lines and services for the brand when they originally were comics. That's how they started. The mistake entrepreneurs make is that they say, I am in the comic book business. No. You have to find the emotional of your brand because then it will continue. Kodak forgot they were in the memories business. They forgot. Because if they knew they were in the memories business, they would have created Instagram. Because if you had a website which says Kodak Moments, what would you do? Because the organizing idea, that what we talk about Kodak Moments, you've used. Hey, Kodak Moment. And then you take a Sony camera and shoot. No? Now because the Kodak is dead. Because they are too busy filing patents for their cameras and films. Wrong product to be doing the patent on. They already had the patent on Kodak Moments without having to invest. Understood why? So, what you really guys really think you do? What is your business? Is it memories? What is his business? Is it assuaging guilt of the mother? Maggie workshop was there. Now, my instincts have got now attuned to what I call the holiday workshop. The holiday workshop is the HR manager had decided everybody needs a break. So let's go somewhere and let's have a offsite. Yeah? It's very common. You've all experienced that there has to be an offsite, you're a travel agent if you want. But what is the workshop you want me to conduct? So McKinsey & Company, who are consultants and who build brands, said, why don't you do one on consumer insights? I fell from my chair. I said, hey, you guys are recommending. Okay? Then, does your brand have an idea that the prosumer will champion? It's not good enough to say, acha hai. You have to give them an idea by which they will pass it on. Okay? Like Kodak. Like, it's the same thought. But rather than in words, what we realize now, it needs to be in visual metaphors. By the way, the trend of taglines is over. 21st century brands do not need taglines anymore. Is it true?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What's Google's tagline? What do you do? Google kar rahe yaar. No, everyone is a prisoner. What's iPad's tagline? So it's become a visual, it's imparted into what we consider the 8 P's of marketing. It's a 3-step process that has been developed, which identifies the brand challenge, the brand being, the brand flight map. It answers those 3 key questions that I told you about and helps you create your own brand. Any questions? Yeah.
Related to industrial product.
Yeah.
Just wanted to know because the decision making is a big change.
Who is the person? Are you getting any references? Are you getting any references?
Yeah, when we supply a machine for
Yeah.
customer,
Who gives the reference?
the users, end users,
No, there'll be somebody in the company who makes the reference.
the actual user.
Actual user in the machine floor or the supervisor?
It depends on.
No, because the body doesn't lie. The body is what you communicate. So we get our insights from observing.
Question: is there any strategy to redesign or validate the particular brand campaign which is already in process? Like I have launched Edify International School and IB School in Enjoy. I released a half-page advertisement in Times of India, which costed me almost 9 lakh rupees, and I've just got 8.
Okay. You're realizing the dreams of the parents, and usually those dreams of the parents is to make their child a doctor or engineer. That means it will be what the parents failed to do. Is that what is in?
Yes, absolutely. I
Okay.
support.
Is that what is in your ad?
No,
What you
good enough.
if-
Explore IB
If you're in the
education.
business of fulfilling the parents' dream, I would say we have to get away by the answer.
Right.
I will become what I couldn't do.
2 minutes.
So that's an obvious emotion. Every parent wants their child to be what they couldn't be. Is that true? Now you have to design your product, pricing, placement, all of it. Showing is you're catering to the parents but ruining the children's lives. Are you sure you want to do
I'm sorry, if I can just add. I'm an assessor from NAC and NBA. There were a lot of references in telling education is doing a lot of damage as well. To a certain extent, yes. Because of representing NAC and NBA, National Board of Accreditation, when we go for accreditation to institution, this is the biggest challenge we have. Majority of the students, as far as Indian parents, trust me, in my experience of accrediting so many number of universities across India, I find students are very miserable sitting there.
By the way, sir, if you also start a matchmaking unit,
So what's the logic behind pronouncing this?
Tongue in cheek.
tongue in cheek.
The logic, the reason.
It's no logic, it's an emotional logic. This unit part is still really tongue in cheek. Brands part is clear. Brands, yeah.
How much should I invest if I have to be your prosumer?
None, nothing.
Prosumer don't invest.
Prosumer doesn't invest.
No, first, to become your prosumer, I should first, engage with you, work with you.
So let me share with you. Most of my business, actually, I sit in Calcutta and I work for 40 to 50 hours in a month. And I help people across the world, entrepreneurs, become sustainable brands. My fee is at $3,000. They pay 50% up front and the balance if it succeeds. For many people, I give away this knowledge for free. Those who become businessmen without paying me anything become my prisoners. Because they come across other people who are not. And those who do pay me and then become successful in their own right, they become prisoners in any case.
So when we pay for your services or knowledge, right? I mean, is it online or
Online. Entirely.
Okay. And what if
First request. Then lots of people in India do that. They pay for $1,500 per day. It's $300 an hour or $1,500 a day.
The only thing is that when
1996, that a housewife in Connecticut was paying me more than Coca-Cola India was paying me to train their management trainers. And all I did for the housewife in Connecticut, who was, my first client was Candle Lady, who used to make candles and sell to her friends. She just wanted to get to $5,000 a month. All I had to tell her, you're not in the candles business, you're in the romance business. Okay? And she's the one who showed me how to learn. And I was completely caught off guard. But she said, how much do you charge? I said $1,500 because Coca-Cola was paying me 60,000 rupees at that time to go once a week to their management trainings to put some common sense into their heads. Okay. So that's what they were paying me for. So I said $1,500, and I had a moment of panic when I invented something very useful. I said 50% upfront, 50% during 16 weeks. Simultaneous came, is that all? Because so she paid me $750, and then we use this self-financing promotion technique. So if you're in the business of romance, who's your competition? And I was telling her that flowers is your competition. Because if you go to tie up with a flower seller, there are already people who are looking for romance. And you should tie up with them. Candies is your competition. She said, fine dining restaurants is my competition. Sure enough, it was. So to cut a long story short, I just helped her make an offer to the fine dining restaurant which is near her house, who are buying candles every fortnight in any case, because they have to put candles there. The offer was that any couple that pays $50 or more at your restaurant, they will be given a pair of candles free. Our intention was sampling, because in any case the client is giving and then we can sample. So apparently this worked out quite well, and this restaurant manager at the next annual meet told his it was a 50 chain restaurant, that I've cracked the dating market in America, because I was then helping her do a website, and this is about 1996. During that time, you could fool the search engines by putting romance, white on white, 100 times, and I don't know whether you people know, when men, at least in 1996, when men have the time to spare, the search word is sex. When women have the time to spare, the search word is romance. Okay? And as a result, whoever was searching for romance ended up in the site. But that wasn't getting her out of the business. So Candle Lady finally said, look, I've achieved, I'm sending you your rest of the fees because I've achieved my target. Now I have another problem. Who's going to make so many candles? I said, don't outsource it to India, outsource it to amongst your friends and go ahead. She then started recommending me to people across America, and very soon I was earning more out of the US than I was in Bombay. So I moved to Calcutta.
So how long is this session itself?
No, because I'm part of Seagull Brand Launch.
Okay.
So my services are available. What they do much more is they will hand-hold you through the implementation. If you were my client, you would have to do all the hand-holding yourself. You'd have to do the resources yourself. Okay. And you have to be really good with your time. Because at the end of an hour, I'll stop. Okay. It's like I finished in an hour, you guys are asking questions. This happens only in India. In America, people would have gone. Okay. On that note, I think lunch is awaiting you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm here.